loves. This is kind of a new weird intro I'm doing. I'm using the normal camera on this, so this is going to be a bit shaky because I don't have a tripod. Sorry about that. Basically, this video is basically just going to be me talking about my current fantasy world and the world building and everything that I've done so far, because I talked about this in my February wrap-up. January wrap-up. I talked about this in one of my wrap-ups, and I thought it was about time that I shared some of the details about this project that I'm working on. So, I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm not just going to sit here and talk. I really hate having to adjust this. My arms are not that strong. I'm not going to just sit here and talk. Instead, I am not sitting. I'm standing. I'm not going to just stand here and talk. Instead, I'm going to be illustrating a piece based on one of the characters in this universe, and I will be talking over that footage as soon as I can figure out how to do that. But yeah, so yeah, I hope you all enjoy that, whatever this ends up being. Wish me luck. So this is kind of the first time that I'm doing this, so yeah, audio should be nice and crisp because I've got my microphone for the first time ever. So yeah, I thought it would be a cool idea to tell you about my novel idea over a thing of me drawing a character from my novel. So yeah, shouldn't clap, it's gonna sound really loud. So this character, her name is Anais Hallwood. She is not an elf. I will explain more about that later. And she is the foster adoptive mother of my main character, Olivia. Olivia Foxglove, because names don't mean anything in this world. Or rather, names don't signify if you're related to someone. I will also talk about that in a bit, but only for Olivia, actually. It's not really a standard thing. Anyway, so let's get started. So the story, I'm thinking of calling it The Scepter of the Silver Sun, which I will need to explain what the Silver Sun is. But before that, it is a story about a young girl who is basically given the strange and unusual ability that she cannot be killed in she cannot physically be killed. She just will not die. And for this reason, she is used in, I don't want to say human, but let's say human sacrifices. She is used in human sacrifices in this temple to this god who suddenly started asking for human sacrifices out of nowhere. And all of the priests and priestesses think it's so weird that this god is suddenly asking for human sacrifices, but they find out that Olivia can't die, and then they realize, oh, well, all right then, she's perfect. And they basically sacrifice her once every year on the pinnacle of this thingy-mabobs, this happening that happens. I don't know. It's a fancy event I haven't figured out yet. I'm in the early stages. But this series, it's only one book, but the universe is going to be a series. It's set in this world called Medyall, and essentially this is my fantasy universe, and it's gonna be great. But yeah, Olivia on her 16th birthday is given a staff by Anais and is told, go out into the world, we are gonna just take care of the sacrifice things, when we don't need you anymore. We're gonna stop killing you. It's fine. Don't worry. And so she goes out to go put good into the world, and that is where the story begins. So Olivia is half of. So I need to talk about the basics of this. Oh my gosh, I didn't rehearse this at all. So there are several major deities in this world who actually speak to their worshippers, and. All right then. There are these several major deities. Their names are as follows: Oris, the silver sun; All, the hot sun; the moons, which includes like a whole bunch of different moons who I haven't named yet; Aeonid, the forest guardian; Huan, the rock king; Lasea, lady of the tides; Inmo, the earth mother; and Nesta, the wolf queen. Oris is one of the sun gods. There are two suns. It's not like Tatooine though. It's a bit more strange. So Oris is the silver sun. The silver sun is essentially the cool sun. It's more light than temperature. So it's like the light aspect of the sun rather than the heat aspect of the sun. And as such, places which get more Oris, if you will, tend to be cooler, but have lots and lots of plants, lots of foliage, lots of trees, because he's blessing them with his light. So yeah, that's that. All is the hot sun, essentially. So places under the protection of all tend to be much, much warmer. So that's where you've got, instead of north and south on this kind of world, you've got the lands of Oris and the lands of all, and they kind of orbit weirdly in that one orbits the top and one orbits the bottom. And yes, they orbit the planet in this world because it is a fantasy series and I do what I want. So yeah, and the moons are their children. So Oris and all are kind of married, but they really just hate each other a lot at this point, so it's not great. But yeah, they're children of the moons, and one of the moons is the gold moon. It's known for being the gold moon. I think I've got the gold moon, the blue moon, the red moon, the black moon, and the silver moon. And the gold moon is going to be involved in another story that I will talk about at some point, but not this time, because just doing the basics. So each of these deities are significant because they govern over an important realm in the universe, with Oris being the north, all being the south, the moons being the nighttime, Ioned being forests, Huan being mountains, caves, that kind of stuff, Lausea being the seas, obviously, and Inmo being the plains and grasslands. And Nesta is nomadic. So yeah, she's patron of nomads. So yeah, basically all of that. But essentially what happened in this world is they suffered through these horrible, terrible territory wars. Because several hundred years before the start of the story, there was a woman who, like, it used to be only humans lived on this planet, and this woman found this spooky, weird guy in a forest, and she was like, he's kind of hot though, and they had kids, and those kids were elves. And the elves started eventually thinking they were better than everyone, because it turns out that the hot guy she found in the forest, who's kind of spooky, was actually an angel, and they think that they have some divine right to the planet. So they take over, and it's not very good, and a bunch of wars are fought, but essentially what happens is they have to come to an agreement, and instead of dividing themselves by race, by this point there are a bunch of different races than just elves and humans, but instead of dividing themselves by race, they decide to divide themselves by faith. So essentially they go around and they're like, okay, so sorry, this might be a little janky, my brother came home, but essentially what happens is they divide themselves by whichever deity chooses to be their patron. So you end up with a bunch of people going to go live in Oris's lands, a bunch of people going to live in All's lands, and so on and so forth. And the people of Oris, they make their name for themselves or whatever as being super peaceful and super religious and pious and doing cool things, just being generally really nice. And they share the mountains because obviously Oris doesn't have, like, just the north isn't very specific. They share the mountains with the people of Huan. So they all have these kind of names for their things. So you've got Orisons, Hughs, Orlans, Monish, so on. You know, I don't need to go through all of this. But essentially Olivia and Anais are both at least part Orison. Anais is full Orison, Olivia is a third Orison, which actually no, she's probably more like 2/3 Orison if you go very literally, because the secret about Olivia is she's a demigod and her father is Oris. But not just that, she has 3 parents. She has a human parent, who is a Hugh, an Orison parent. Anyway, I need to talk about, like, the compositions of each thing, but yes, Hughs are mostly Hugh and partially dwarf, so yeah, anyway. Sorry, got a bit distracted. So she has a Hughish parent, an Orison parent, and a godparent. And that, he gives her his protection. And so that's basically the basics of this world. What's going on at the time of the story taking place is the Orlans, because Orl is a very, like, warmongering goddess, I mean, and she just decimates everything, to be honest. And her people are very much in value of victory through battle and such matters. And so all Orlans are currently, at the point of the story, in a war against the Inns, which are the people of Inmo, and they are not getting along so great. So at this point in the story, they're fighting, this war is raging. Olivia goes out into the world to find her cousin, who is Orlan, because, like, there's a bunch of political marriages. Anyway, her cousin is Orlan. She finds him. His name is Skyer. I'll probably put a picture of him up at this point on the screen to demonstrate who Skyer is, because I have illustrated him. Oh, I also should put up a picture of Olivia. Let's just visualize them. Olivia, Skyer. So anyway, they essentially get to know each other. Skyer's like, oh my god, you're so weak. You're a mage. You have no power whatsoever. Because Olivia is really new to casting spells because she's been kept from doing it because magic kind of pollutes you for being a sacrifice. So she's all new to this and she doesn't have any experience, and he thinks, oh no, she can't protect herself. So he decides to go with her on her quest to save the world. But he also is very interested in her staff, because the staff that Anais gives Olivia on her birthday is entirely covered in mirrors. One of the key aspects of Orison culture is they give their young mirrors on their birthday when they come of age, because mirrors are sacred to Oris. And essentially, so she gets a mirrored staff, which is completely new and unheard of. You can see me illustrating the mirrors on her right now as like I'm talking, so this is perfect timing. But yeah, basically they get mirrors, and she has the mirrored staff, and she's like, what is this? I don't understand. And Anais won't tell her anything about it, because the staff was secretly a gift from Oris. Don't tell her. And she essentially, I say essentially too much, sorry, but she goes around with the staff and she takes it to Skyer, and Skyer thinks, right, this is a weird fucking staff. So he goes around to the only physicist he knows, which is a guy who is tentatively named Mueller until I can figure out a proper name for him. But a guy called Mueller who's an inn. So he has to sneak across the border to go speak to this guy and say, hey, so my little cousin who I only just met has a staff and I need you to look at it. And Mueller's like, yes, obviously, I'm both a physicist and also very attracted to you, so I'm definitely going to go. And he goes and he looks at this staff and he's completely, utterly, like, mystified by it. He doesn't understand what it is at all, and he's just so interested in this entire thing that's going on with this girl and her staff and everything about her mission, and he's just, he doesn't know what to think. He's very curious, and so Olivia decides that now that she's heard about all of this stuff, all this war, she hears about it from these two guys speaking to her, Mueller and Skyer, and she hears about it and she thinks, you know what would be a great use of my power and somewhat more divine right than anyone else? Stopping a war. And that's the journey that she embarks on. She's also, what she doesn't know is that her staff is secretly the Scepter of Oris, aka the Scepter of the Silver Sun, and it is insanely powerful and has the power to create new deities. So she doesn't know what power she holds, and it's going to be an amazing ride for her to figure that out. In the meantime, Skyer also realizes that Olivia cannot defend herself, and he, while he may be agile and quick in battle, is also not really that strong in hand-to-hand combat. So he enlists the help of a mercenary called Rayna, who is one of the people of Aeonid. And she is basically kind of a mix between a tiefling and an elf from the Dragon Prince, kind of. Like, it's basically horns, tail, except kind of a satyr, but like a deer, but also like a ram. I don't know. We'll figure that out at some point. But yeah, so she's that kind of thing. And essentially, I need to stop saying essentially. I'm so sorry. But what happens with her is she has sworn off going to battle because her wife doesn't want her to. And her wife is like one of the most amazing textile specialists in the world. And yeah, and also blind. Her wife is blind, and that's why she's so good at textiles, because she's good at feeling the fabrics. It's heightened her sense of touch. So she doesn't want to go to this war. Skye persuades her to, and obviously she ends up going with them because otherwise Olivia would die within the first 5 minutes, even though she can't die, but you know, we'll get to that. Skye doesn't know this. And yeah, so that is where we are heading off. Rhaena just wants to get back home to her wife. Skye just wants to wreak havoc on everyone. Skye is a bit chaotic. He's a bit fun. He doesn't really know what he wants, but I know what he wants. But I'm not going to say it because it's a bit of a spoiler. Olivia just wants the war to end, and that is the gist of the story. Maybe I should do like a list of representation that's showing up, because that's the fun new thing in the world, is being representative. I feel like representation should be a base, like that should be the standard, not the bonus, but you know. Stole that line from Read with Cindy. Go follow her, she's amazing. But yeah, what am I on about? Right, representation. Lesbians. Olivia is bisexual. Rhaena is a lesbian. Her wife, Indra, is a lesbian. They will feature quite heavily. Skye is gay, and Mula is also gay. I don't have any straight characters. I just realized that. Oh no, maybe Anais is straight. I think she probably is. She doesn't realize, like, quite her own feelings. She doesn't have any romantic path within this, mostly because she's just there as Olivia's mother, but she also quite a very significant character. I kind of think she might have a thing for the King of the Hues. Possibly might write that in there later, we'll see. But yeah, I'm still kind of working through the details, but this is essentially my current project. It's what I'm working on. This is a very basic level. I will talk about the magic system in this at some point. Probably also talk about more of the world building if you're interested, because I do have a lot more world building that I can go into detail. I also have a planned mythology anthology for this bad boy. So yeah, I'm really running my own like J.R.R. Tolkien moment right now. But yeah, so that is my fantasy series. Yay! Thank you all for watching. This was kind of a mess. I'm sorry. I'm kind of freestyling this entire video. Sorry about the interruption earlier. I'm just apologizing right now. But yeah, I'm really excited about this. I don't know if you can tell by like how much I'm talking. But yeah, thank you all for watching. I will see you soon. Hopefully. I had some technical difficulties, Mars in retrograde or something, I don't know. But yeah, I will see you soon with another video. Probably a booktube one, but who knows. I actually quite enjoy doing speed paints, it turns out, so we'll see. Bye!